Hi lovelies, and welcome back to this channel. If you're new here, my name is Belinda's channel. Thank you so much for all the love and support. Don't forget to please subscribe to this channel, turn on notifications so that anytime I upload a video, you will be the first person to be notified. And to my returning subscribers, thank you so much for all the love and support. To those people that share my videos and leave commentaries, and also educate you guys are the real MVP. Thank you so much for all the love and support. All right, lovelies, let's dive into today's video. So lovelies, I came across this video on my For You page on TikTok, and of course I thought to share with you guys because I find it super interesting where the Span-colored people are all out to talk about how the American dream is no longer what they expected. And I was just able to put on some of the stitches. I'm just going to roll the clip as well of some of those stitches I was able to put together. Please leave me your own thoughts in the comment section of what you think of this video. Alright, lovelies, let's dive into it.
Can somebody explain to me in crayon eating terms why I make over 3 times the federal minimum wage and I cannot afford to live? And I do not want to hear the pull yourself up from your bootstraps, work 90 hours a week. That's not the goal, guys! That should not be our standard! I am so fucking tired of people being complacent with this uniparty, both of them fucking us over. When my parents were my age, they both made less than half of what I make, and they lived alone. I cannot afford to live anywhere alone. A 1-bedroom apartment, $1,800. 2-bedroom apartment, $2,200. Who the fuck can afford that? It is embarrassing to come out and say that it is a struggle to survive right now, but I know so many people are struggling. And do not get me started on what my grandparents were doing. They $3,000 house. And yes, I understand inflation and all of the bullshit that they have been pulling with the Fed. Why are we allowing it? Why? And then I clock out of my shift. I am tired. I have to go home. And I check the news. Another 60 fucking billion to a country nobody can point out on a map. What are we doing? Where has the plot gone? We have lost it, folks. We have fucking lost it. The American dream is dead. It is over. Gone and forgotten.
Answered the question himself in his own video, but I want to highlight one thing he briefly mentioned and talk about it, which is that the American dream is dead. Yes, the traditional American dream, which is like doing better than your parents and being able to provide a lot for your family, is dead, or at least it's changed. Because there are many of us that are well aware that we will never be able to make as much money as our parents did. And I think my mother, who is a boomer and benefited directly from the system in place, said it best when she once said, roughly, that the American dream has changed. It's become very apparent to everyone that in this economy, Gen Z, millennials, and some Gen Xers, many of us will not be able to do better than our parents. We won't even be able to do as well as our parents. And now the American dream has become just being able to get by, being able to maybe afford a house at some point, maybe have a kid or two if we're lucky enough to make that much money. And a lot of us, myself included, who has now experienced company like financial related layoffs twice so far in the last 2 years since I've entered the job market. You know, those of us who feel like we're constantly in fight or flight about bills and how we're going to keep making it by, it's making us miserable and feel so hopeless. And yes, I could sit here all day and show you graphs of how like inflation is going up, and while wages are going up, it's just not matching inflation. So it feels like we're all just constantly working and working, and the goalpost just keeps getting moved further and further away from us. And yeah, it has a lot of us extremely stressed and worried and feel like just giving up because we're constantly running a race where the finish line is getting moved further out. And I think it's obvious that we're all just really exhausted by it now. I know I am. I'm constantly hitting a wall with all of this. And a lot of us have to wake up every day blatantly knowing we will never do as well as our parents did. And we just have to try to make it, you know, somewhat close to that. I'm sorry. My dad passed away several years ago on this date. So I'm just thinking about him, and sometimes I feel like he'd be proud of me, but sometimes I feel like he'd be very disappointed. But he was also an extremely intelligent businessman with multiple degrees, so I think he, more than anyone, would really understand what we're all feeling right now.
Spot on. I mean, for a lot of us, the best chance we have at owning a house is waiting for a family member to pass away so that we can get some inheritance to be able to afford a down payment. This is the reality that no one talks about. And I think if you're waiting for someone's death so that you can live, then that's a nightmare, not a dream.
How are people affording life right now? How are people tackling this cost of living on the average American salary? I just watched a TikTok of a teacher who makes a teacher's salary. I don't know what state she's in, so I don't know how much she makes, but her 1-bedroom apartment is $2,000. And when she spends $2,000 on that 1-bedroom apartment, it doesn't even come with a washer and dryer. So she has to go pay an additional $2 every time she wants to use their washer and dryer. Okay, like, how does that leave her any extra money to spend? And then she said she had a $400 car payment, which some people were bashing her on that. But in today's economy with interest rates, that's really not that bad. And I'm sure she needs a dependable car. So you talk about teacher's salary, $2,000 in rent, $400 car payment. You got insurance, you got groceries, electricity. Like, I don't understand how people are affording life right now, and it really makes me sad for some people. You have people who are like her. She's single, she has her own salary, or families where it just works out best for them for the mother to stay home. And if the father is just making an average American salary, how are they affording life without going in a bunch of debt? This lady who's a teacher started crying because she said she realizes on her salary and where she lives, she will actually end up in more debt. Then, like, she will just continue to accrue more debt and more debt and more debt because her salary is not matching the cost of living. And what's sad is I've seen people be like, just spend less. Listen, guys, the cost of living is rising and our salaries are stagnant, okay? So there's not just spend less. That's not the problem here. The problem is the cost of living is outrageous, and minimum wage in some states is still $7.25. Teachers in some states are still paid a ridiculously low salary, even though their job is super important. I don't know what we can do about this, but I'm just going on a rant because it really, really pisses me off right now. How are people tackling this cost of living?
I really have no fucking clue how people afford this day and age with normal average jobs. And it's like, I was a server for almost 8 years and I never once made more than like 40 grand. And that was me making decent money. I was making $20 to $30 an hour. But it doesn't matter because the average cost to live in America is like $3 grand a month or something. And that times 12 is like almost 40 grand, you know? Maybe that was enough money to live off of 4 or 5, more like 20 fucking years ago. It's unfortunate, but it's just not enough money anymore. And it's like the video that I stitched, she was talking about how someone she knew was a teacher and how she didn't make enough money. My best friend is a teacher. She is so passionate. She is so knowledgeable about what she does, but she will never make the amount of money that she deserves, you know? She still lives with her fucking mom, and I don't blame her. I still live with my parents, even though I'm making really good money, because I know that the second that I move out, I'm going to be throwing away quadruple the amount of money that I already am because shit is just so damn expensive.
There is no more middle class. This has to do with the wealth disparity in America, which, if you want to make a political thing, you're more than welcome to make it a political. The 1% of America owns $47.44 trillion. The equivalency would be if I go to spend $1 at the Dollar Tree and I go, fuck it, it's $1. That's how they view $400,000. So we're supposed to go to college, right? And then we have to take a loan out for college, and then no one teaches you about interest rates, so that's fine. So we're stuck paying those for 20 years. And then we work really, really hard, and then we go, well, I'm going to go buy a house. But JK, because 27% of single family homes are owned by investors. How is that allowed? Then we have inflation, and inflation is supposed to decrease spend, okay? So inflation rose last year 7%. And if your boss didn't give you a 7% raise, then you actually lost money. The American dream, as we were told from when we were kids, is dead. And now we're building our idea of what the American dream is. And I can assure you, it's not working our lives away until one day we maybe retire and can enjoy our lives. Making rich people richer it's not what gets us going anymore.
Listen, if you still want to come to America because you believe in the American dream, let me tell you something. That dream died like 30 plus years ago, and now we're living in a dream that involves paying $10 for a dozen of shitty fucking eggs, paying $2,000 a month for an apartment in the ghetto that's about 700 square feet and it has no walls. And then if you want to go to university here, you're looking at around $100,000 for a 4-year education. That's on the low end. But in those 4 years, you might get shot because everyone seems to want to shoot each other for some ungodly reason. Then you're going to graduate thinking, oh, I graduated, I have a degree now, I'm going to get a good job. Your good job is going to pay you about $40,000 starting off, maybe. And then they're going to say you're going to work 40 hours a week. When in reality, you're going to be working about 50 plus hours a week because they're going to guilt trip you in by saying, we're a family, we're a team, we help each other. And they're not going to pay you overtime for that because why would they? If they get your help for free, why would they pay you for that? Okay? Then there's no work-life balance. That company you're working for now doesn't want to give you vacation days until like maybe your second year working there. And those vacation days are maybe 4 days out of the whole entire year. That includes holidays. All right? Then if you're sick, too bad you still have to come to work. Okay? Then if you want to buy groceries, your groceries are going to be your whole entire paycheck because no one can afford to eat here anymore. God, I go to the grocery store for 4 things. It's like $50. I'm just saying it sucks living here. I don't want to live here. I want to leave. So maybe you should rethink your whole American dream because it's not what it's all cracked up to be. Okay? Okay, love you. Bye.
Get the house, have the kids, you know, the American dream.
Go watch that video. Essentially, she's quitting her job in 45 days. She got a master's degree in engineering and she went into corporate America and she realized she hated it. And the hardest part was figuring out how to go against what her parents have told her is the ideal life for her whole life. The American dream, quote unquote. Buy a house, get married. Maybe you're supposed to get married first. Have 3.5 kids and a white picket fence. Except that what we've been screaming from the rooftops is that the American dream is dead. No one can afford to buy a house. The cost of housing and minimum wage have not risen at the same rate by any means. And it's really funny because when, I do van life and when I tell people that, they often look at me with, some aspect of judgment and they're like, why? Why? And first of all, I can control my expenses. Rent is incredibly expensive. Mortgage is incredibly expensive. Also, I can go be and exist and live in all of these different places and see all these different things and meet all these different people. But the real reason that I did it was that I knew I wanted to step away from corporate America. And the first thing I needed to do was downsize my expenses. And the only way that I could do that was to get a renter for my townhouse and save on mortgage. Once I did that, I'm like, okay, well, I don't have anywhere to live and I don't want to live in LA. I have always been a free spirit and I've always been okay spending time alone. That the caveat there is you heavily need to be okay spending time alone. And this has been the best experience of my life. But I was thinking, what was I missing in corporate America? Because the drive to succeed and the drive to climb the ladder kept me going for so long. I have 13 years of experience. And I got this job. It was a very high up level job. It was a VP job. And it absolutely destroyed me. I was discriminated against for being a woman. I was talked down to. I was made fun of. I watched them make racist jokes that I would say absolutely not. Feminist jokes, misogyny, everything. And, I was the only woman in a leadership position and the psychological warfare alone, it was a horrible, horrible experience. And that was really the reason that I looked around and I said, what the fuck am I doing this for? No, honestly, what am I doing this for? Yes, a goal was to do it so I can get to the top, so I can change the environment. But when I was working under these 3 C-suites that are men in their 50s, white males, I realized that people just blindly believed anything that they said. They have talked so much crap about me after leaving this company. They went on to say I wasn't a cultural fit, which is fine because that's the lie that I was saying. and that they wish the best for me. That was in public, but in private, because I still had friends that worked at the company, they would talk so much shit about me and say I was dumb and I was stupid and I lied and all these things. And I think what was crazy was realizing that people just blindly believed them. Like, everyone just blindly believed them. No one sought to understand my side of the story or the fact that they could have discriminated against me just for being a female. And that was when I realized, not the first time, but maybe the 100th time, that the game is rigged. This is not apples to apples. And I'm fucking tired.
Say goodbye to the American dream, boys and girls, because homes have never been this overpriced or impossible to buy. In 1920, a new house would have cost $6,296, just $95,000 today. The average American's annual income that year was $3,269, roughly under $50K, meaning that back then, a house was only 2 years' annual salary. All the amenities that we have today were much cheaper back then, like broadband, internet, lighting, roofing, indoor plumbing, a concrete foundation. All of those things were dirt cheap. And back in 1920, 46% of all Americans owned a home. Compare that to today's figure of 66%.
Hey, what? It's higher.
Let's do a basic freaking common sense rundown of why American homes are so much cheaper compared to how they were in 1920. Right now, the average cost of an American home is about $392,000, and that is fairly high. But American homes today are 2 to 3 times larger than they were in 1920. Homes back then averaged between 742 to 1,200 square feet. And the average home right now is 2,464. Now let's go into square footage costs. The average cost per square foot of an American home is around $200. In 1920, it was about $3.85. So that's $60 in today's money. Let's talk about the features of an American home from 1920 to today. I'm going to go over every feature in an American home that you take for granted today that would have been a luxury in 1920, and I'm going to show you the cost differences. Back then, only 35% of American households had electricity. About 20% of Americans had indoor plumbing, meaning running hot water. At that time, only 1% of all US homes had electricity and indoor plumbing. It also meant that 80% of American households did not have indoor flush toilets. What about basic HVAC systems like air conditioning and central heating? Less than 1% of American households had central heating and air conditioning. They just had coal or wood to heat themselves in the winter, and then they just had windows to cool themselves off back in the day. While the air conditioner was invented in 1902, back in 1920, it cost about $10,000 to install one, which means it was worth as much as an American home. Because most American homes back in the day did not have any kind of insulation, and heating was always a big deal. The houses were much more closed off and compartmentalized instead of the modern day open floor plan, which most American households have. What about basic kitchen appliances that y'all take for granted, like the microwave, the dishwasher, the gas-powered stove or oven, or a kitchen sink? The microwave didn't exist then until 1950. The remaining 3 were luxury items, meaning the average American couldn't afford them. Let's not forget the refrigerator, because having something electric run like this back then cost about $1,000, which is 10% of the value of the home. What about driveways and garages? Those just started appearing in the 1920s. Back then, there was no such thing as the internet. Closest thing we had was a telephone, and only 30% of Americans had that. What about concrete foundations, which make up the vast majority of American homes and keep them so sturdy? Well, what do you know? Less than 10% of American homes had concrete foundations back in 1920. What about having a roof over your head that didn't leak every day, which was a luxury back in 1920. They had minimal insulation and ventilation considerations, and generally were made of tar paper or felt. This is a cost breakdown of all the features in an American home today from the National Association of Home Builders, also called the NAHB. I calculated how much each luxury cost in 1920 as a price per square foot. Now, the microwave wasn't invented until the 1950s, but I'm going to say that's $1 per square foot, and I'm being generous. If you add up all of these amenities, you have $32.85 per square foot. And then there's the markup. You sell the house at a profit. Let's be conservative and say it's 10%. All right, that's $36.13. Add that to the average price per square foot of the house in 1920, which was $3.87, and you have $40 per square foot of American property in 1920. $40 in 1920 is $627.10 today. Multiply that number by the average amount of square feet in an American home, 2,464. You got $1,545,174.40 is how much it would have cost to build an American home with today's standards back in 1920. While home prices have elevated above the historical norm, we are living in the equivalent of a high luxury mansion compared to how people were living in 1920. Remember, while the average American home in 1920 was a crap shack compared to what we have today, only 46% of Americans owned it. My name is the Geo Husar, and if you think we were living better in 1920 than we are today, shut up. You don't know anything. Read a book. Look at some stats and charts. Thanks for watching.
Like, seriously, lovelies, as it is, all of the economical changes, inflations, and all of that, is not looking at either you are in the upper class, lower class, or middle class. It's actually also not looking at your privilege. This is one thing about, economical downfalls and all of that. If you want to affect, it's going to affect everyone. Every individual, no matter your skin tone, no matter the privilege you feel that you have, because it will affect you more that actually have privileges, because you have gotten used to a system of privilege. And when you no longer live up to that system that you have gotten so comfortable with, it's going to be a very big problem for you to actually adjust. On the other hand, if you are among the oppressed group, you know what it is to be oppressed. You know what it means to work like a jockey but get paid in peanut. So you have already witnessed and tested it. You have actually tested it. So even if it gets tougher by the end of the day, one way or the other, you can still adjust, because it is the system that you have already been into. You have, find your way around it and how you can probably, adjust and, reduce all expense and all of that. And you are going to be so good. This is one thing pan-colored people do not understand. A lot of times people been complaining, and when you complain too much, these same pan-colored people will still be the first person to tell you to go back to your country or go back to where you're coming from. If you don't love it here, if you don't like it here, what are you still doing here? You can go back to your country. I said this because of a video I saw one time of a pan-colored man. Boldly, he came out and talked about how Black Americans never built any country of theirs. That if Black America ever built a country, why wouldn't they go back to their country? Like, why would they go back to Africa and build Africa, so that he will see how they will probably build Africa or something like that. He was saying something about why wouldn't they use that same energy to build poor African, where they actually, I don't know. And he went ahead to talk about how they never built the United States, that there is nothing like reparation. Nobody deserved reparation because nobody built the country. It was even on a podcast. I was like, wow. When you feel that you are privileged to have everything in your back and call, any other person that is talking does not really exist to you. But the way at which this economical thing is going, the economic something or the inflation that is skyrocketing is not looking at your face. It's not looking. It might still actually favor but you will not, you will never be comfortable the way you used to be, because this inflation does not look at your face. It does not know what is privilege. It does not know who is blue or black or yellow. No, it doesn't. It's affecting everybody. It's affecting both the rich, the poor, the middle class. Seriously, it's really affecting everyone right now. And I think it's actually affecting the rich, or those people that feels that, oh my God, like, because when you're too comfortable with something, everything at your back and call and all of that, it takes like time for you to adjust a little bit. It takes time. Like, you feel so frustrated. You feel so, oh my God, what is happening? My words are crumbling. That is how it is. The economical stuff does not, care who you are. If you're blue or black or yellow, they're gonna hit. Which day, or was it not up to, it's not even up to like, a week ago that a bill was passed. This bill, talked about how some young people will go into the forcefully. When you turn 16 years, you automatically be registered to go to war. What is happening? A lot of pen-color people were like, for what? Before, most people that does this is maybe immigrants, or since there is no job, let's just go into but this is affecting everyone. It's affecting both the rich, the poor, the yellow, blue, black, and yellow. If you turn 16 and you're a male, you automatically go into a war. This is how it is. There's one thing about I don't know, this animal that after, I think they eat their own children, like these animals, when you're used to hurting someone, hurting them, you don't even know when you are now hurting yourself. You don't know when you're hurting yourself. The earlier the better. The earlier these people forget about thinking that I get it all and all of that, and try to focus on how to make the world a better place for everyone without trying to be discriminatory about it. I think the better. Because if you think that anything that is going on is going to affect some particular individual, you might be lying to yourself, because it might eventually affect you. And you in turn regret, like, wow, I was told about this. This economical thing is going so high. Like, it is like it's for everyone to buckle up. It's no more about, oh, we are good. No, it's not. Everything is going high. Inflation, oh my God. The economical, oh my goodness. Is it the food? There's no more organic. Organic food is even tripled right now. And I heard something about the BRICS. The BRICS. The BRICS is going to crush some kind of currency. Like, a lot is going on. A lot is going on. Anyway, lovelies, why not just leave me your own thoughts in the comment section of what you think of this video. And do not forget that we do not support any form of bullying, harassment, or so. We're just here for educational purposes. So please share this video, subscribe to this channel if you're here to do that, and I will see you, lovelies, when I upload the next one.
Watch up to this extent. Thank you so much for all the love and support. Why not just leave me your own thoughts in the comment section of what you think of this video. And do not forget that we do not support any form of bullying, harassment, or whatsoever. We're just here for educational purposes. So please share this video, subscribe to this channel if you're yet to do that, and I will see you, lovelies, when I upload the next one.